Let's talk Texas recruiting. There's been a couple major developments this week in the Longhorn market, so we're going to cover all that today in today's video. I got Justin Wells from Inside Texas. We're going to get into it, but first, Texas fans, do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. You've been with me all season. We're about to hit the home stretch of recruiting, so jump on board, hit subscribe. All right. Let's bring on Justin Wells. One of the key developments this week was Zelus Hicks. He entered the week as Texas 2026 commitment. He is now a 2025 reclassified up a class to 2025, 6'1.5", 180 pounds out of Carrollton, Georgia. What does it mean for Texas? And also, is Texas going to sign him? He was at Tennessee last weekend.
Yeah, I think he was just doing a little bit of due diligence. I feel like Texas is going to sign him, and he's going to roll early. So this is a kid that's not only going to skip his senior season, he's going to skip a senior season and a half.
That's crazy.
He wants to be on campus in January. I believe he's 18 years old right now, so I think that kind of lines up. But this was kind of always the case with his recruitment. Even after he committed, we kind of knew that he was going to try to reclassify. It was one of those things we kept low for a little bit just because of out of respect for the family and everything. But ultimately, this is what they wanted to do. He said he's been starting on varsity since his freshman year. By the time you get to be a senior, if you know those guys, they're a little burned out of high school football. And Zelus Hicks is ready to get to that next step. He's ready to go to the next level. Like you said, he's 6'1.5", about 180. He's got an incredible wingspan. I was actually in Georgia last week, and after the Calvary Day Liberty County game, I watched Douglas County play Carrollton on television in my hotel room, and he got to match up against Aaron Gregory, another 2026 wide receiver target that Texas is in on. Just committed to A&M a couple weeks ago. Hicks looks tremendous. He's versatile. This is a kid. I don't think he's a corner necessarily, but he's got nickel traits. He can play both sides of the venue at safety. Right now, he's trying to set up an official visit since he's a senior by classification. Now he gets to take that trip. And so we reported at Inside Texas earlier that he's trying to lock that down right now. We feel like he's going to enroll early, and I think this basically closes the door on 2025 recruiting at safety for the Longhorns with Jonah Williams and Zelus Hicks, who I think are incredibly complementary and both add their own skill set.
Okay, now you said it shuts down safety recruiting, but not in the entire defensive backfield. There's a couple targets still on the board, and I want to know, is Texas going to finish big? I'm looking at Dorian Brew, Kobe Sellers, Devin Sanchez, and Grayson Littleton, who's fresh off that decommitment from Clemson. How many can Texas take, and what about the names that I mentioned? Where do you think Texas stands for some of those guys?
I think Texas wants to take one more. I think they want two in this cycle because I believe they took 4 last year, and 3 of those 4 are already contributing with the team this year, especially Kobe Black's been big. Wardell Mack has actually gotten a pick, and so those young guys have played well. I think that's why they haven't pushed that hard at the corner spot. They've got Caleb Chester, the 4-star out of Fort Bend Marshall, but they want another one. And I think if they could get 2 more, they would. Like a Devin Sanchez is a numbers buster. I don't care how many corners you have in your class. If he wants to play for your school, you make room. And so Devin Sanchez is the first. That's the top of this list, in my opinion. That's probably the hardest one that would actually have to happen. He's been, locked in Ohio State for the longest. And so, but he continues to connect with Texas on a regular basis, and Sark continues to build that relationship out. So we got a month to see how that turns out. Dorian Brew made his way onto campus a couple weeks ago for the Texas-Georgia game to a few people's surprise. That one is, I think Oregon feels a lot better now because they've got 2 cornerbacks in their class right now, and the other player, his name slips my mind, he's maybe looking around a little bit. And so I think Oregon's going to really rally around Dorian Brew to be like, look, we need you in this class more so than we did maybe before. And so Texas still likes Brew, and I think there's some middle ground there with that relationship. And so they may need to get him back again. They've got 2 more home games in the month of November to try to pull that off. Kobe Sellers and Colton Guillory, those are the 2 guys that I feel like are gettable. Sellers is committed to Texas A&M out of Shadow Creek. And then you've got Guillory, who's committed to Oklahoma and out of Klein Oak. And so with Guillory, I think Texas feels like they could flip him if they pushed hard enough. With Sellers, I feel like they felt really good about a flip there probably 3 weeks ago. And I think that Texas A&M LSU game kind of pushed him back into Aggie land. I think it kind of not so much locked him down, but it kind of
reminded him why he's there.
Yeah, calm some nerves, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not stopping Texas from talking to him. They want one more corner in this cycle, and they would take any of those guys. I think right now Devin Sanchez is going to be the hard one. I think Dorian Brew would be as tough as well. But hey, they've got a month left. If you see Corton Guillory on campus, don't be surprised, because I think Texas can pull that one out of the hat. And Kobe Sellers, they're not going to stop. Kobe Sellers, there was a corner back in the late 2000s named Dion Beasley. They are an analog for each other. They are very, very similar, and they're going to continue to push with Sellers. He was one of my favorite recruits coming out in this whole process. Unbelievable kid, really good family, great personality. Cornerback recruiting is going to be a fun thing to cover at On 3 and Inside Texas in the next month.
Yeah, I didn't say it was going to be easy to finish big. I mean, these are the big recruitments where Texas might as well just take a big old swing, see what happens. Maybe they can hit a home run. The other position of major need that Texas probably needs to finish up with is defensive line. So let's wrap it up there. You got big names on the board. You got Kevin Wynn. You got Justice Terry. You got Joseph Mbachu, who is now trending to Auburn. He didn't make a commitment coming out of last weekend, but he has been picking up some predictions in that direction. So how do you see this position group finishing up? Inside Scoop listeners, let's talk PrizePicks. Now, this weekend, I did not fare as well as I would have liked to. Jeremiah Smith did not hit on the more than 70.5. Katron Allen did not hit on the more than 56.5 rushing yards. Dylan Gabriel, he did hit on his more than, but next week, this is what happens when Travis Hunter isn't playing. I'm just not on my PrizePicks game, but let me know in the comment section, well, how did you guys do this weekend? We love PrizePicks here at the Inside Scoop. It's real easy. All you got to do, pick two or more players and their selected stat line, more or less, submit your lineup in less than 60 seconds. It's that easy. And right now, if you play $5, you can end up with 50. Hear me out. All you got to do, place a bet for $5. When you're done, whether you win or lose that bet, PrizePicks is going to put $50 in your account. It's easy. It's fun. A great way to play daily fantasy while you watch your favorite college football team. Let me know your lineup. I got to think about mine. I know I'm going to have Travis Hunter and Shador in my lineup, but you guys, let me know who you're playing. Comment section below. Now, here's what we got to do. Go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop and use promo code inside scoop to receive a guaranteed 50 when you play that $5 in your lineup. Go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop. Promo code inside scoop, $5 to play 50. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to go through the state of Georgia corner to corner last week. Justice Terry was the most imposing. He looks like a college-ready player immediately. He's got hands the size of peaches, and this guy's big. I get a Colin Simmons to Texas vibe there, in which I don't think Kirby Smart can allow Justice Terry to leave the state. I just don't think it's going to happen. Auburn's still pushing for him. LSU still pushing. Texas is definitely pushing. But I think that one's going to wind up at Georgia. Joseph Mbachu, to me, is the most wide-eyed and open-minded. Like, this is such a new process to him. He just put on pads last spring. Grayson, if you've ever been to Grayson High School in Loganville, Georgia, they have 211 football players in that program, and a lot of them can ball. And so Mbachu's he's really he's that moldable clay that I think a lot of defensive line and DCs kind of see as a kid they love. I asked him, who's recruiting you the hardest right now? He said the Texas Longhorns. His family absolutely loved Austin when he took his official visit for the Texas-Georgia game in mid-October. Just came off of a Michigan OV the weekend after that. Then he just went to Auburn after a weekend after that. I believe he's got maybe 2 more official visits he wants to knock out. I think that's going to be really close to an early National Signing Day decision. Auburn was trending, like you said, but Auburn also went all in last weekend. They were kind of pushing him for a commitment, and for the fact that he left gives us a little bit of pause now. And so I think this is a Texas-Auburn battle. I think Georgia was in the mix. They're really not anymore. South Carolina, I think, is kind of hanging around the rim there as well. But I think this is going to come down to Texas and Auburn. Kevin Wynn, man, my goodness. I don't know if I've ever met a kid that I had to interview in his kitchen, because he is an inspiring chef. There's 2 things you need to know about Kevin Wynn. 1, he is going to be a cook one day. And 2, he's going to play football. And not in that order. he wants to go to the team that's going to get his signature is going to have the best culinary program in the country. And that's the first time I think I've ever said that covering recruiting in my life. I got to hang out with him. He cooked amazing fried chicken and biscuits. We can only interview for 5 to 7 minutes because those biscuits cannot burn. But Kevin Wynn, here's the thing with Wynn. He's committed to Florida State, and I didn't get a sense he's looking to decommit. Now, he's still open. USC really opened his eyes a couple weeks ago. That was the first time he had ever been in California. And that really opened his eyes. He liked a lot about what USC can offer. He went to Texas on an official visit in June. He missed an unofficial trip for the Texas-Georgia game, and he wants to make that up. This is a 6'2", 325-pound cat that Texas really likes. Tashard Choice and Kenny Baker are staying in the mix. Georgia is still in it. South Carolina is making a late push there as well. But I get the sense Florida State is holding on loosely there. And so despite them having such a dreadful season, I really do think that they're in a good spot to keep him in the cycle. That remains to be seen. And then lastly, Walter Mathis Jr., he might have been the most impressive. He definitely had the best game against Liberty County. Explosive first step. Really good personality, really good parents. They call him Buddy because he's everybody's friend, and you could tell that Calvary Day roster is absolutely ridiculous with 2027 recruits. We are going to have to go back there. There are going to be multiple prospects to cover there over the next few years. Walter Mathis Jr. is locked into LSU. He loves Coach Bo Davis, but this is one that he wants to see Texas. If there was one kid that was really enthusiastic about trying to see the Longhorns, it was Walter Mathis Jr. And so him and his family are looking at scheduling a trip either for the Florida game or for the Kentucky game. That remains to be seen. I think he's locked into the LSU pledge as well, but I also know that Kenny Baker and Tashard Choice have his attention, and he certainly looked good. He's a little on the shorter side, 6'1.5". Probably about 280, 290, but again, unblockable, just absolutely incredible football game. And so out of those defensive linemen, Texas has 2 in the mix, Josiah Sharma and Myron Charles. They want 2 more. They'll get 2 more. They'll take 3 more if it's the right guy, because that cupboard has to be restocked. After this season, there's going to be 6 or 7 defensive linemen in the NFL strictly from Texas from the last 3 or 4 cycles. They have to replenish those funds. And for them to do that, they're going to have to nail some of these out-of-state guys.
Well, this weekend will be a big opportunity. So, Texas fans, talk to us. How are you feeling about the DB board? How are you feeling, more importantly, about this defensive line board? Also, go check out Inside Texas. A ton of good intel coming off Justin's trip to Georgia. Go check it out. Also, let us know, comment section below.